A big dog hits the chain link fence at a dead run, throwing its whole weight at the wire a step in front of you, and before a single word forms in your head, your breath catches, your chest kicks, and for half a second you cannot move. You are safe. There is a fence, a leash, a pane of glass thick enough to stop a truck, and you know all of that completely. It changes nothing, because the part of you that just froze never asked your opinion. That exact half-second once failed to save a child. The alarm that just fired at a fenced dog is the same one, and that child died more than 2 million years ago. Go back, then. More than 2 million years ago, on a grassland that is now South Africa, a small creature from our own family line crouched at the edge of its group. Above it, a shape it never quite saw dropped out of the sun. A crowned eagle struck, closed its talons around the child's skull, and lifted it into the air. We know this happened because we still have the skull. The alarm that did nothing for that child is sitting inside your chest right now, fully loaded, still on duty. The flinch arrived before you did. By the time the thinking part of your brain understood what it was looking at, the freeze had already happened and was letting go. You did not learn this, and you cannot unlearn it, and it has been keeping that same promise far longer than there have been people to keep it. So what is it for, and why will it not stand down? Most people file it under being startled, a little glitch of the nerves, a hiccup you would switch off if you could. That is almost the precise opposite of the truth. That half-second is the single most rehearsed, most successful piece of equipment your body owns, a prey reflex that ran flawlessly across millions of years of your ancestors being hunted, and it still stands guard over a danger that mostly walked off the planet. Start with the timing, because the timing is where it stops feeling like yours. When something looms at you fast, the signal runs down a quick, crude pathway, straight from your eye to the thalamus to the amygdala, the brain's threat alarm, and it skips the slow route through the visual cortex entirely. The neuroscientist Joseph LeDoux at New York University spent his career mapping this, and the name he gave it stuck. He called it the low road. Download the low road. A defensive response can fire within a fraction of a second, as little as 12 milliseconds in the animal work LeDoux did. The high road, the conscious one, the part of you that can say the word dog, does not catch up until a couple hundred milliseconds later. Your body has already braced and locked and started to let go a quarter of a second before the conscious you knows what it is looking at. So the freeze is not your decision arriving late. It is a separate and far older system on its own clock, built to act before you could think. And that lands you somewhere uncomfortable. If this thing fires before you can choose it, in what sense is it even yours? Who installed it, and how far back does the wiring run? Before we go back, look closer at what your body is doing in that half-second, because here is the second thing everyone gets wrong. Freezing only feels like the system crashing. It is actually the most controlled thing your nervous system ever does. The psychologist Karen Roelofs at Leiden University in the Netherlands ran an experiment that pinned this down. She stood people on a force platform, a plate that measures the tiny constant sway of a standing body, and showed them photographs of angry, threatening faces. Two things happened at once. Their bodies went measurably stiller, the natural sway you cannot normally suppress just dropping away. Their hearts slowed at the same time, a dip into bradycardia, the body tapping its own brake rather than flooring the gas the way you would expect. Then came the detail that turns the data into something you can feel. The stiller and the slower they went, the more frightened they said they felt. The freeze was fear itself, in its oldest and most physical form, holding the body dead still and quiet. The frozen deer in the headlights, the rabbit gone to stone, that is not a figure of speech. It is a real, measurable parasympathetic state your body still drops into, a brake that holds you still and primes you to move. So if that is a precise tool and not a breakdown, it was built to do a specific job. What does standing perfectly still buy you against something that wants to eat you, when every nerve you have got is screaming at you to run? Stillness was the whole point, and it works because of how a hunter's brain is built. A predator's visual system is tuned, above almost everything else, to motion. Movement is the signal that says, food, there, now. Hold still, and you withhold the one thing the hunting brain is most desperate to lock onto. And the reflex that does this is no clever modern add-on. It is wired into the deepest, oldest machinery in your head, the superior colliculus and the periaqueductal gray, structures down in the midbrain that you share with basically every animal that has a backbone. Fish have it, lizards have it, and it was old before mammals even existed. It is triggered, specifically, by looming, by the sight of something getting bigger, fast, the shape of a thing rushing straight at you. A team at Birkbeck in London and Emory University, led by the psychologist Matthew Longo, sat people in front of images that swelled toward them, some threatening, some harmless, and asked one simple thing. When is this going to hit you? People were sure the snakes and the spiders would land sooner than the rabbits and the butterflies, even though every image was swelling at the exact same rate. And the more afraid someone was, the sooner they felt the collision coming. Your nervous system warps your sense of space and time around the threat, pulling it closer and sooner than it really is, buying you the fraction of a second you need to freeze or run. The alarm is tuned to size and to looming speed, and you do not calibrate an alarm like that against nothing. It had to be set by things that were big, fast, and genuinely hunting us. So the comfortable story, the one where we were always the hunters, has a hole in it. Were we ever really the prey? We were, and we have got a body to prove it. Go back to the child on that grassland, because that child is real. The fossil is the Taung Child, a young member of an early branch of our family tree, barely 3 or 4 years old when it died, dug from a South African quarry more than 2 million years ago. For decades, people assumed this little one had been a hunter's kill, or had simply fallen. Then, a paleoanthropologist named Berger at the University of the Witwatersrand took another long, close look at the actual marks on the bone. They found puncture wounds and gouges in the eye sockets and the base of the skull that matched the talons and beak of a large bird of prey. The same damage, in the same places, that crowned eagles leave today on the monkeys they kill and carry off. One of the oldest children we have ever found of our own lineage died in the grip of a predator, eyes first. And it was no freak accident. That is the part that should rearrange how you see your own body. For most of the time, there have been creatures anywhere on the human family line. Something larger and faster than us was trying to eat us, and it worked often enough to leave marks in the few bones we have. Leopards dragged hominins up into the trees to eat them at leisure. Eagles took the children straight out of the group, and in the open, the big cats simply took whoever moved at the wrong moment. The ancestor who hesitated half a second too long, who ran when stillness would have saved them, did not get to pass anything on. The ones who froze at exactly the right instant did. You are descended, without a single break in the chain, from the ones whose freeze worked. If being hunted shaped us that deeply, you would expect the evidence to be more than old bones in a drawer. You would expect it carved into the living brain you are using to watch this right now. And it is. Deep inside the primate brain, there is a piece of threat hardware so old it predates our species by tens of millions of years. In a structure called the Pulvinar, a chunk of the visual brain that works below conscious sight, a neuroscientist named Quan Van Lay and his colleagues at the University of Toyama in Japan recorded the activity of individual neurons in the brains of macaque monkeys, one cell at a time. They found cells that fire faster and harder to the image of a snake than to a monkey's face, or a monkey's hand, or a plain geometric shape. Your brain keeps some of its very fastest, most specialized alarm cells not for recognizing the faces of your own kind, but for the shape of a predator. And it does it before you are aware of seeing anything at all. And these were monkeys raised in a lab. They had never met a snake in their lives. Nobody taught them, and the cell was waiting anyway.
One anthropologist, Lynn Isbell at the University of California, Davis, thinks this goes even deeper. Her idea is that snakes, the very first hunters to prey on small mammals, were a danger so relentless for so long that they actually shaped the way primate eyes and brains evolved, sharpening our sight to catch the thing in the grass before it caught us. Which means the half second that locks you up at the zoo glass is just the visible surface of a fear circuit that was already ancient, already on watch, before the first human being ever drew a breath. This alarm is older than we are, and it is not going anywhere. Which leaves one question worth answering. If it is a real piece of equipment, what exactly is it, and what is it still doing inside you? Give it a name, because once you can name it, you start to feel it everywhere. Call it the prey circuit. It is real equipment built from real parts, the low road that fires before thought, the human freeze that goes still and slows the heart, the looming detector that warps time around anything big and fast. An inherited predator alarm, tuned to size and to speed, standing guard underneath the part of you that thinks it is in charge. The reason it feels so strange when it fires at a fenced dog or a pane of glass is that the circuit is working perfectly. The only thing that changed is the world it is doing it in. There is a cost to carrying a war that is already over inside a body nobody ever told. The eagles that took our children, the big cats that hunted us in the open, the things that made stillness the difference between a life and a meal. Almost all of it walked off the planet so recently your body has not registered it. And here is why it still runs at full strength. The circuit was never built to be right. It was built to be wrong in the cheap direction. Freeze when nothing is there and you lose half a second of your day. Fail to freeze the one time something is there and you lose everything, and you pass nothing on. So, for 1,000,000 years, the bodies that locked up at every big, fast shape, even the harmless ones, are the bodies that lived long enough to become yours. The calm ones got eaten, and the circuit does not know the eagles are gone. Nobody told it, and nothing can. So it stands its post and it fires, faithfully, at the lunging dog behind the fence and the gorilla behind the glass, every single time, over a danger that already walked away. So, come back to the fence. The next time a big animal moves fast and your chest kicks and your body locks for that half second, you will know exactly what just happened. The oldest part of you, a guard posted before you had a name, before your species had a name, stood up and did its one job. The same job it did for the child the eagle carried off, and for every ancestor in an unbroken line who went still at the right instant and lived to have children. The calm you feel scrolling past a charging lion on a screen, that is the new thing here. It is newer than farming, newer than writing, a thin layer of safety laid over a body that was never told the hunt had ended. The freeze is not your fear failing you. It is your fear keeping a promise it made in a world that wanted to eat you. A promise it has never once broken,
not even now, when nothing at all is coming. You never chose it, and you cannot switch it off, and it will be there at the fence long after you have forgotten you were ever afraid of anything. You are the safest human who has ever lived, walking around in the nervous system of the most hunted one. That flinch, that helpless half-second you used to think was nothing, is the proof. It is also, quietly, the most loyal thing you own.